Ashanti Port Services. I think this story is running for today. The National Voice newspaper is saying Bawumia pushes nationwide campaign despite front runner status. It is delegates to vote on competence, not region. And diplomatic community alarmed by Ghana's 5% withdrawal levy. Diplomats cite Vienna Convention in challenge to Ghana's FX levy. And IMF governance reports highlight weaknesses at Ghana's OSP. So when you purchase the National Voice newspaper this morning, House of Lies crumbles, Razak Opoku shares Suleiman Abrame's claim over NLA KGL deals as HE's advises looms. And Manso in Nyankumase miners cry fall over alleged military harassment. So this and some other stories, when you purchase the Meridian newspaper, you'll find the stories over there. The Observer Times, Bunkra Port arbitration, just more construction order to pay $33.3 million to Ashanti Port Services. Ex-gratia discrimination. And DJ set stage for dinner tonight. And Bagbin and Gammanche to grace the occasion. So, stakeholders in the media fraternity, please, you're invited. Don't miss this dinner at the GJA. So this and some other stories in the Observer Times. And when you purchase the various newspapers for this morning, you get this and some many more news stories in there. And Felix van der Palen is already seated with our guest this morning to get the nitty-gritties of the stories for this morning. Stick with us on the headlines this morning.
It's still the GTV Breakfast Show, Monday edition. I am Kweku van der Palen. It's your Felix, same OG. Time for headline discussions. And this morning we're doing justice to a number of issues that have been in the news. President Mahama has been pushing for reparations and is calling for a united front as long as Africa is concerned. And he knows that he feels that he's thinking on behalf of all Africans as a result of something that has gone wrong in the past. We'll also look at Justice Bruce Cynthia is concerned. Some rules have been given as long as journalism is concerned. Some have called it bizarre. We'll look into that and we'll see what our guests think, what their school of thought is on that matter. We'll also look at what minority leader in parliament has said about the media, vis-a-vis that the media is actually what he calls the lifeblood of Ghana's democracy. So we'll compare notes and look at how all of these are playing out and how it works as long as our democracy is concerned. I've been joined in the studio by Oscar Provençal, actor. Good to see you.
Hi, Felix.
Yes.
How you doing?
Hope your weekend was good. Yes, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, Prince Wampom is also here, an entrepreneur. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed your weekend too.
I enjoyed it, but what was most enjoyable this morning is the way you introduce yourself.
Wow.
I really love it.
So can you repeat it?
I'm Kweku van der Palen.
Yes.
You're same OG.
You're the man. I love
really
that.
nice.
Yes. Okay, so let's get into President Mahama's reparation. It's been made, no matter how small, that didn't produce any desired results.
Congratulations to the President for calling that out because, as he said, we should unite for reparations. That just tells you that there's a divided front as to those who believe, including us, who were part of the victims of the crimes of humanity in terms of slavery back in the day and the cost that it has had on the continent and the loss of lives. Indeed, I would say the rape of our economies and our natural resources by the colonial powers. To rally around that cause, reparations is always a touchy area. I believe that the former colonial powers and the West are somehow in denial, but somehow in denial with a high level of hypocrisy.
Just before you move on, where lies the division you're introduced into this?
Well, of course, there's some who say that slavery existed before, the colonial masters, and we in Africa engaged in some form of slavery, during that period. They would also say that we were somehow participants ourselves for the mirrors and the whiskeys and schnapps and so forth. But I mean, for me, that's a completely lame claim. It's like saying today that, they had the right in the first place to come to Africa and carve it up and do whatever they wanted to do by, dint of either force, coercion, or deceit, So if you look at the lives that were lost to Africa, and I say the hypocrisy because you'll find out that reparations has been paid by the Western world.
In which manner?
In terms of funding, in terms of infrastructure. If you look at World War II, Germany was charged. They had to pay reparations.
But perhaps the president is thinking that grants and aids are a different thing altogether, but there's the need to compensate for what Africa has suffered.
I think we should differentiate between grants and aid. Let's remember that they took away our resources. They're only giving us back our own money with interest. How much grants do we get? And look at that, 400, you're talking about 400 years of slavery. That's not a joke. 400 years of moving millions and millions of Africans into slavery. It's not your grants that is going to pay us back. It's our money that has built the Western world. We must call out this hypocrisy where now the colonial masters want us to believe that they committed no crime. And the first call is, well, it was our ancestors. It wasn't us now. Please, give us a break.
But why don't you want
to... Germany caused a world war that lost nearly 6 years ago. They finished paying their reparations. Other nations have been paid reparations. Israel has been paid reparations. So we can't have double standards. Now, the question that comes in is not just about the slogans, it's about the details. And they'll say, so who are we paying it to? We're paying it to individuals, or we're paying it to the state? And then the question arises, so how do you deal with those issues? Those are the issues that I think need to be discussed. Not necessarily whether reparations are due us or not. They are due.
So and where it will go,
what it will be used for, what in terms is the quantity. How do you quantify that? And it goes into trillions. I mean,
let me bring
trillions and trillions of dollars. And so it's peanuts for you to come and say, well, we're giving you a grant of, $10 million or $20 million or $100 million and coming from the World Bank, and you have to pay interest, and with all the...
all right, so,
so this conversation,
I don't go with that.
It actually sits in a scripture I read this morning when I was coming. It's in Leviticus 5, verses 5. It says, when anyone becomes aware that they are guilty in any of these matters, they must confess what they have sinned and a penalty for the sins that they have committed. It starts with first being aware. The people should accept the acceptance factor begins the conversation.
So remember that we are dealing with a generation which is today, and their ancestors were involved. Has the story been told? Well, have they accepted that? Are they ready to accept blame?
It's a society that is well documented. They are a very documented society, unlike our part. So our part saw the atrocities. Their part saw the benefit and the recordings. So if you can't say you have stolen from me and you don't even know, or you don't want to accept that you have stolen, where do we start a conversation from? So that is the angle we should have the conversation from. And in any case, was infractions or sins committed? Yes. It's a broad daylight between those the two factions.
Do you think they really know and have really accepted it?
The acceptance part is the conversation will be, and the demand for that.
Couldn't there be some legalities in this? Because I don't want to leave that matter of our people being involved. Oscar touched on it briefly in the case of the whiskey matter and the mirrors. And so there was some condoning and conniving somewhere, somehow.
I was talking about the records part. Now, if we are to go on a legal tangent, it means that there should be established hardcore fact in terms of records that we can prove at every place that we go and seek redress. What if we go there and we are not, because some of these transactions happen between the chiefs at that time and these slave masters where they exploited our gold and all those things. We were not documented at that time. So even if you are looking to push, they have all become narrative. So if you take the case of what is happening even at the Gaza Strip now, this record document to prove some of their cases, because you sadly will have hardcore facts in terms of things that have happened about 400 years ago, and people are made to now pay. The scars are there; they are seeing the scars. If you look at how the diasporans are flowing into Ghana now and Africa now, it's a testament of a people who haven't had a closure. And how would the closure be? For first acceptance, people paying repatriation, and people saying sorry because this is what has happened, and helping the people to relocate even their roots. Now they are doing it on individual levels, they are doing it at group levels, but as a national conversation in a place like America, it has not happened. And there should be closure for people. Sometimes I feel when they come and they feel at home and they want to, bond and all that, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you are with an American passport, you're American, what are you? But to live a life that you don't have a closure, it can be very, very, very difficult. So the repatriation, we are calling it's a part package of what is due us, but it's also a form of a closure for a group, a people, a nation that has been hurt.
Okay. All right. Mr. Tanko, Legal Facts, has just joined us.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you. Though you were late, it's better late than never.
Never.
So we are grateful that you made it. We are on the matter of His Excellency's request for reparations and the fact that a whole of Africa must throw their weight behind it so we win in this. Oscar mentioned earlier that it's not just about thinking of reparations. Who must it go to? Whose front is this thing? Because is it going to individuals, as he said? Is it going to the state coffers?
It's taking a very serious dimension, and there is a growing momentum around this. And I'm saying it's interesting because one of my colleagues at the law school in the UK, I have been talking to him for almost about 2 years now. He's from the Jamaican descent. And he had started, as a matter of fact, we've shared, notes. And he had started. He's taking it from the Jamaican
point of view
perspective. And he had been in touch with me, actually last 2 months or so, and asking whether is it something that I think that the African leaders could also, jump onto that bandwagon. And the very interesting thing to address what Oscar has said, he had come out with a very interesting formula how to, resolve the issue in terms of, how do you calculate the atrocities in terms of how do you quantify them. And he came out with some very interesting, permutation metrics in terms of looking at the wage that people are being paid for the type of job that our,
Let's hear it quickly. Perhaps you could.
It's a very, 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 very interesting. I'll look for it and then I will share. Because you
don't have it ready available.
But I'll look for it. But the point is that, in 1960, there was a very important, one of the judges of the Supreme Court in the UK, Lord Devlin, judgment of enslaved individuals, and he emphasized that slavery is fundamentally incompatible with the principles of justice and human rights. And that settled the matter. And when people talk about, well, how are you asking people who didn't play any role in what happened?
But they're benefiting from the role.
Exactly. And that, I heard Oscar when I was coming when he talks about the hypocrisy, because we know about Holocaust, don't we? Was that not recognized? Don't we have a situation where in other jurisdictions in Europe, they have even come out with laws for you to even deny that thing happened? If you deny that it happened, that itself is considered a criminal offense. And when we have something that is almost documented, it's clear, and how that has actually changed, if you like, people's, aspirations and made people even, they are now in sort of identity crisis.
So as a legal practitioner, it's documented, so there is enough proof.
There is enough.
So why does the president use words like a fight? We need to throw our weight so we can get this done. It puts it in a certain situation where it's as if you're not too sure whether you're going to get this or not.
No, there's the guilt part, and there is, quote unquote, a narrative part of the story. If somebody decides to tweak the story for a long time, then now you need to wake your people up with this call so that they are able to rally behind you and have a momentum that can demand justice. So that's the angle the president is coming from.
You want to say something, Oscar?
There is absolutely no doubt that Africa requires that the West pay reparations. There's absolutely no doubt about it. In terms of documentation, there's absolutely no doubt about it. What we need to also do is make sure that we let the youth of today and our citizens who are so distant from the topic that we are talking about be educated about what has happened in their past. So that's why the president is asking for us to be united. It's not
what it is.
And so that education must be done. But going forward, I mean, we all know how the West has manipulated their history. I mean, if you've heard the African Americans dozens of times saying that their history is not told properly, in their schools and in their history books and so forth. So we know that manipulation has been done. A lot of work, I believe, has been done in the area of the fight for reparations.
Okay.
This, to me, is not a last gasp. I think is a catalyst for us to,
to keep moving,
keep the conversation going. And
I realize Tanko has seen that. But I'll come to you. Let us exhaust this point.
America alone has probably spent about $7 trillion. You know what $1 trillion is?
That's a lot.
On war. As we sit here today, the amount of money that they are prosecuting wars in Ukraine, is there a proxy war in Ukraine and all over the world, trillions of dollars being spent every single day.
They are spending to create more
to kill people. So
it's a crazy world.
Why are they admitting that they have stolen our artifacts and are now returning them? That's an admission of guilt, that you came to steal. And so, for me, there's no question. Okay. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty as to the formula.
Yeah, the formula.
How much?
The Jamaican.
How it's going to be paid.
recommendations.
So this
And
is,
we as citizens will have to task if it goes to the
But
individuals. It probably can't go to individuals. Even if it goes to governments, we must make sure that
There's accountability, transparency.
And the last thing I want to say is, why is it that when slavery was ended, the slave ship owners in the UK and other places were compensated for the loss of the revenue of their business? That's the hypocrisy. Nobody on this face of this earth can tell me that we do not have the right to have reparations. The slave owners themselves were compensated for the loss of their slave stock. If that's not hypocrisy, I don't know what else it is.
Well,
No,
His Excellency says he's going to introduce the motion in the next UN.
Envelope calculations, if you want to make some very simple analysis, if we can establish that about 500,000 people were bought into slavery, obviously once they were bought into slavery, it means they were going to work. If we are to use the normal work hours of current times of just 8 hours a day to measure how an American is paid per hour, per day,
24 hours or not
Yes.
8 hours a day.
but let's
So what
let's do
exactly are
24
you-
hours.
So,
yeah.
Let's do 24 hours.
approximately.
Approximately. I mean, we are just doing something.
in terms
small.
of the numbers,
You should be able to get some few numbers coming out.
approximately, the historical records indicate that approximately about 12.5 million Africans were forcibly taken during the transatlantic slave trade.
You could double that figure.
Right? Approximately.
Could be
Now,
more.
this is what he's saying, that he had come up with this formula, conversion to monetary terms. And he's saying that converting the suffering and loss experienced by enslaved in claims, such as those made by the Holocaust survivors, that provided a framework for calculating compensation based on loss of life, labor, and then the cultural heritage. Then he looked at the economic valuation of labor. And this is what he did. He said the economic value of labor provided by the enslaved individuals can be estimated based on current wage rates for similar work. Assuming an average annual wage of £25,000 for a laborer today, and considering an average working life of 40 years, the total lifetime earnings for one individual will be approximately about £1 million. Right? Then he looked at the inflation and interest, adjusting historical figures for inflation and applying interest rates can further enhance the monetary value of the reparation. And then he looked also at the identification of assets, and then they looked at the legal framework for claims and all. It's a very, very, very comprehensive framework. That
So if need be, do we need to constitute some kind of a committee to get into these
that is
calculations?
what he was trying to, because he was born in the UK and all those things, and he thinks that, as a matter of fact, the momentum would be better driven by the Africans and all those
That's
things.
impressive.
And he was trying to see whether is it something that a committee can be formed. We've been talking for a while, honestly, initially, and said this is what he wants to do, because you have to actually notify them. And I think they are even inviting him to have a chat. So it's something that I think I would, yesterday when I heard our president make that call, I sent him the link and he was so excited. Wow. And he says he wants to talk to me. So we'll see how it goes. But certainly, in terms of the recognition that slavery was unacceptable, it's clear acceptable. That is why that itself is a recognition that that something is wrong. Mm-hmm. And there had been precedents in terms of when some of these things had happened, what you did. So yes, but clearly it would be difficult to provide the compensation to individual. That's why he had come out with a framework where he says that yes, it could go into some economic benefits and all those things, and then that would spread.
Okay, again, these are some of these groups and nations we get into diplomatic issues where
it is complex.
Business and all of that.
Very complex.
And I'm wondering how it's going to play out. Are we really? It's like he said, a fight. Are we really ready?
It is not going to be easy.
Yes,
Because
taking resources from people for sins they have committed will not come without a fight.
Yeah.
Because people are still trying to protect resources to build their nations. In fact, they are looking for more from you now, as against the earlier sins they have been
the natural resources base.
Yes. They are looking for more now. Why are we still fighting a lot of wars in Africa? There are sponsors all over. This is a global knowledge. They have their interest, even now. So in as much as we want to fight for the old one, the current one has to be protected by a concerted effort, how we negotiate trade deals.
This is complex.
Now, it's a complex global setting.
See, he even suggested to the UK government that they could issue reparation bonds. Because, you know, there are
You mean the Jamaican?
Yeah. Okay. They could issue, because the issue of the thinking about how do you get the resources to resolve that and all those things. And he came out with other suggestions, reparation bonds. Come up with reparation bonds so that that money that would be generated through that bonds can be, grow and all those things. And I'm saying that he admits, and when we looked at the technicalities and the legal challenges, it's not going to be easy because they would also come out with some legal basis. But by and large, when there is that collective advocacy, you know, and make people feel that, yes, you may not be directly involved, but your ancestors,
if you go to the UK now,
benefiting.
You go to the UK now, London Underbridge were dug by these slaves. Are they still not using the London Underbridge?
You're still benefiting. So clearly, it is something that I think we should push, and it would involve a lot of advocacy. It will involve a lot of, you know, diplomacy and all those things, and then eventually there could be, because the reason why it's going to be complex is that they're not going to allow you. It's not going to be a cakewalk, you know. And remember, those people who would be at the forefront are people we go to for some sort of aid and support and all those things. So when you start pushing, they would start finding ways of trying
reminding
to
you and issuing indirect threats and all of that.
Pushback. So that's why it is complex. That's why you first have to go through the processes. That's why the president's attempt to first push a motion for it to be recognized at that level.
Yeah, that's next year at the UN.
Yeah, that is the starting point. But you will see what is going to happen.
Okay, so
because you know there are people there who can easily come in and say, hey, we are what? We are going to be opposed to this, and that might just kill that. How many? I mean, look at what is happening in Gaza and all those things. Do you know the number of UN resolutions that have said that is unacceptable, but nothing has stopped? So it's not going to be a 2-day or a 1-day wonder. No. It's something that.
So it's like taking candy from a kid.
It's both.
You know, you've been silent for a while. I was kind of sighing, and I realized, you know, and even the parts that His Excellency touched on, as long as the reparations are concerned, he said, institutional reform and transformative economic redress, you know, with the global economic system and all of that.
I mean, he's hit all the right notes. You know, there's absolutely no doubt about that. You know, and you said I was sitting here quietly. I always sit quietly. I like listening to others.
Yeah.
You know, people should learn that. You know, so yeah, I mean, it's the right call, and as I say, we should all rally around him. I think there should be a national campaign. You know, to sensitize our children. We can look even in terms of our educational content for our schools, and you know, in terms of rewriting the history books,
the narrative.
And I'm sure if you go to the University of Ghana, I mean, come on, you can't tell me that all these professors that we have who are there, who've written history, we're just throwing everything into the dustbin.
We need to keep
They are just gathering cobwebs. No, we need to get the academia, we need to get everybody on board. It has to be a national agenda for all African countries. But we know the reality on the ground. African unity itself is a challenge, even for ECOWAS, even for AU, is a problem. So we have to look at the pragmatic steps of how we're going to, you know, strategically deal with this issue.
So talking about African unity itself being an issue, there's a part I would want us to touch on. You know, this thing indirectly extends to racism, if I'm not mistaken. And people talk about how we treat our own selves. We sit here and sometimes point fingers at, oh, it's the external, it's the outside, but how...
We're human. It's a human institution. There's no country doesn't have internal.
Yeah, but the outsider looks at how You treat yourselves, and then when he steps in, it informs what he's going to do.
Even the outsiders, whoever you're referencing to outsiders, have their own issues in their country.
Among themselves.
I mean, so that shouldn't be an issue. But that's the strategy that has been adopted. That's the denial strategy, and that's the guilt strategy for us as Africans to feel guilty and be part of the problem. So therefore, we do not deserve anything. That's why they say our chiefs were involved, we ourselves were involved, the Arabs were involved. I mean, and all of that. It's a beautiful narrative that they put together, and you can see as propagandists, they have brainwashed us well and good for 400 years. And I'll tell you why they brainwashed us. And go to the Bible. The Bible itself justifies slavery. So I want our religious leaders. And,
where does it do that? Where?
Oh, you want me to point it out to you? Okay, so here we go. Go to Exodus 21. It says, when you buy a male Hebrew slave, should I continue? Do you want to read more?
But it wasn't justifying it, was it?
If you say that, and okay, it's Old Testament, and I don't know whether
you see, the Bible has stories.
No,
it tells it.
My brother,
it doesn't mean that.
Not give
We're not
excuses.
going. All right.
They foisted the Bible. They foisted the Bible on us.
Yeah.
They foisted the Bible on us,
No,
and here
the
it
Bible
is.
says a different precedent. That one, when you finish, I'll come in.
It says, when a man sells his daughter, my brother, in the Bible.
A friend of mine was saying,
my brother,
stop Abdi.
You asked me a question, and I'm giving you the proof that it is in the Bible. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. Master, it is all here, even in the Bible today, as we speak. I want to know the position by the religious bodies on this particular issue regarding the Bible, because this is what empowered our slave and colonial masters.
But has it
through the
justified
Bible?
It? Has it justified it?
I don't know what you mean by justification.
No, the point is
this is a justification.
Does it say
why is Israel behaving the way it is?
It's telling a story. The Bible is telling a story. Yeah.
Respectfully, why is Israel doing what it is doing today in Gaza? Why does Israel think it has an inherent right to that land that it is determined to take away from Gaza? And why were they given that land in the first place? The narrative is what? The Israelites are what? The children of God.
No, I mean, it cannot be the only basis for it. Because for about a week or two now.
Respectfully, please. I never said it was the only basis. So you can bring up your basis, but don't make it look like I said it was my basis. It's not my basis. I'm only giving a certain perspective to it. And I'm saying the core perspective is that the Israelites today, the Israelis who are doing what they're doing, and the Americans who are backing them to do what they do, is based on the Bible. What the Bible says about the Israelites. So let's not...
So you're blaming the Bible. You're blaming the Bible.
Then you have laid a very solid foundation to your claims. But I'm also of the school of thought that if you look at the geography of where they lived, and you have all these countries around you, for over a week or two now, I've been looking at how their operations of security has been for them. And the investment of technology and money to stay alive alone in that region.
Who cost it?
Who
cost it?
No, the point is that they have historical.
We are going into
precedent. The point is very dangerous.
It has a very strong history
when it
behind
started,
it.
I knew it would.
It has been there, and
it
has grown to this level for all of them to be unstable.
But you see, the
And now
foundation is based on what Oscar was saying. It was based on a very flawed, assumption to bring people into a space that they don't belong there, and then you almost legislate and make them almost like laws over the people whose land they came to take. That's what Oscar is talking about. That's where the injustice started, and that's why now you always have to be looking over your shoulder.
Are we not having similar thing happening in Boko and those places? Conversations we are having concerning wars, it's always about people who have come to people's places.
Okay.
And when they come, they also want to have a space. The Ashantis have to travel from Kwemu all the way, fight and go, and there are claims that some of the portions of the place are not for them. It happens in historical perspective. It's not a justification, but that is how history has been written all over the world. So you can just not stand up. And when you wake up this morning and go to Boko and say the man process should leave,
okay, at
least, are we justifying what
at least we agree.
I'll go to my second.
There are bases. Is that one written in the Bible? What are the justifications that the people have over the other?
Is it because Oscar says it's
no,
Bible?
But the point is not the justification.
Okay, so I'll take over now. I'll take over.
But
ordinarily, we agree that
everywhere is happening.
Ordinarily, we agree that we deserve reparations. I mean,
that slavery is unacceptable.
Yes, the recognition.
We must understand what the foundation building blocks are, and we've enumerated what they are. I have brought this issue up because it stems from what? It stems from the same way some people sat in Brussels and carved up Africa for themselves. It's no different from what has happened in Israel.
No, that justification, I can't side with you on this.
You don't know where I'm going to.
Yes.
And I don't want you to side with me. I want you to help.
That's your opinion.
There
will be a lot of examples we can also make claims of. It have nothing to do with the Bible. It's the same thing happening.
And this is the beauty of when we're going to start talking about what Afenyo Markin said and the judgment said and the importance and the role of media. And
we're getting into that right after this.
It is because of
we'll touch on that a bit.
Media platforms like this that we are able to talk about our differences and, shape public opinion and narratives. But the public have a brain of their own. And I urge them to use their brains, to go and research all of these things themselves. Not take it hook, line, and sinker that we're saying it. I'm glad lawyer is here. He's a lawyer. There's a term in Latin when you cannot give what is not yours. Please, my Latin is bad. In law, what is it? Nemo something, something, something.
Something, something.
Please,
on the note of something, something, let's get into...
I'm coming to a very important basis.
No, you go ahead.
No, I want you know that in law you cannot give what is not yours. The British and the Americans came together and they gave the land to Israel. Yes? The British are the ones we are taking our law from. Yes or no? If in their law they say you cannot give what is not yours and they are acting on it judicially, what gives them the right to give what is not theirs to other people and take what is not theirs from other people? So I would wish that lawyers would get together and take on the system, because you cannot, by the laws that we have today, which we are following because the British gave us the law. I don't know whether Ghanaians developed our own law, but we are taking British law. And but you cannot give.
Oscar, quickly, let me do this, Tanko. Quickly, based on what you said, could this become a legal matter between us, sub-region, and those we are looking at?
Oh yeah, certainly. Clearly, there would be legal challenges and all this. They're not going to just sit back and look at you, come to challenge them that, they are forefathers this, and as a result of that, it has caused it. So they're not going to, they will fight it legally, and that's where we have to come together, because as soon as they see a crack, they will take advantage of that crack, and then they will distract us from really the main cause. That's why I think the president's call that we should collectively come together and then pursue this.
And that point has been made. In the next 5 minutes, I just want us to look at Justice Brew's ruling on Samuel, the journalist. Perpetual injunction has been placed that he can't go on with whatever publication of findings that he got. And, certain rulings have been given as long as journalism is concerned. Some have called it bizarre. Journalists are supposed to be independent But from what we got, it looks like now they have to work through and work by and work with certain state apparatuses. Well, is it the right way to go?
No, go on.
We just have 4 minutes.
Yeah, go on.
I said 5, so it's 4 now. No. We'll touch on it.
So to me, the ruling, it has 2 parts. The part that can empower the work that the Speaker of Parliament has called the lifeblood of our democracy. And the other part that should also protect people, the rights of people who can easily also be exploited using the same tool. Because in our quest of looking for the truth, people can be compromised or people can be run over in your quest of looking for the truth and denying them the truth that you are looking for. So we have had cases where there was an investigative piece and people were claiming they were set up. So how do we distill between the real acts of corruption in that piece and the ones that were set up? Because in any case, who is also policing the police? We've seen police vans being used to carry narcotics, but he's a policeman. So who is policing that policeman? So if we don't set a boundary between...
The boundary has been set by the framework, which is the Constitution. Do you get the point?
Already.
The Constitution has already set those boundaries. All of us take our rights from the Constitution. And the right that the claimant...
Oscar, you have the last word and then we sign off.
The right that she was seeking was her right to privacy.
Okay.
That right to privacy, right found in the fundamental human rights, belongs to everybody else. But don't forget, the journalist is also exercising the right guaranteed by the Constitution, the right to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, media freedom, and independence. Now, when those 2 rights clash, one of those rights had to give way, and the Constitution had indicated which of those rights would have to give way and why it should give way. Those rights that are in the public interest to give way have to give way. So the issue here is that when you look at investigative journalism, nobody comes to somebody who is engaged in wrongdoing to say, I hear you are doing A, B, C, D, and the person
I have a very limited time.
Say he's doing that. So frankly, that judgment, I need to make this, that judgment was a travesty. It is actually failing to recognize the fact that the journalist, the journalist in doing his work, because now we've moved from where you just put information out and go to sleep. It's a 360. So you put the information out there and you pursue it until you make sure that whoever you have exposed, they are dealt with according to the law. And then if they have stolen money, the money is taken back.
And people think we rarely get there. Yeah. But let me bring you in. This whole thing also sends a signal to some people. People feel that it makes journalists lose some kind of enthusiasm about the job, because they think that they need to depend on some other figures, institutions, to have their work.
Legitimacy.
Well done.
Well, honestly, I've not read the ruling. I haven't seen the rationale that the judge has.
But at least from what you're saying,
anything that stifles freedom of speech, real or perceived, is a problem, especially in democracy. A crime of what sort? And I have to actively engage an arm of state to be able to do my investigation. Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? A lot of the time, these journalists have gone through who have been killed left, right, and center. I beg that if I ask even on this table whether we who are sitting here have ever had a thought of concern about our own personal safety in terms of how much more an investigative journalist who's going to expose politicians, who's going to expose high crimes and
very sensitive.
It's very sensitive, and the freedom of the press is critical for us to get accurate information, to be able to not only shape public opinion, but to ensure that transparency exists between the government and the people. Anything that flies in the way of that, for me, will see us slowly crumbling democracy.
But see, honestly, it's very important. What are the issues that the journalists wanted to do the investigation
and it's not just about journalism.
No, it's about what? non-renewal of company documentation and non-filing of
business concerns there,
non-payment of taxes, conflict of interest concern regarding procurement issues, alleged wrongful acquisition of government lands and all those things. The journalist does this investigation, and he does what his code of ethics says he should do. After you have investigated, you get in touch with the person and say,
right
this is what right to...
Why do we have the right to information?
So this is how I'd like to wrap up. Once you're on the floor, should we leave the journalists alone to do their own thing without any interference? Or there should be some guidelines?
The Constitution has made it clear that journalist is supposed to be free and independent. You have to allow them to do their work. You only interfere with their right to do their work if it's in the public interest to do so, not when it's in the interest of an individual or to satisfy a parochial interest. And the law is clear. The international, you need to be... If you're saying that somebody is interfering with your privacy, that balancing act, there has to be a balancing act and the proportionality.
It's all needed.
It's all needed.
Okay.
But clearly, when you're talking about issues about, potential wrongdoing and all those things, and you say that person's, we have even published, we have even come out with a right to information, access to information law. That is bizarre. And I think that they would appeal against that.
The point is that crimes or infractions cannot be private. But once somebody is investigating you for it, it's suspected it and is pursuing it, that he can come up to you. But we want to create a balance between where people cross the line.
Okay.
That's so that
quickly. I'm signing out on this segment.
Atmosphere of fear.
No,
that the journalist cannot do his work.
They should be bold.
Not just the journalist, but everybody in the media.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Have peace to do our work and the freedom to
Mr.
do
Tanko,
so.
thank you for coming on. Prince, grateful. Oscar, forever grateful.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll meet again.
By all means.
Still, GTV Breakfast Show. More to come. Stay on. Enjoy.